And we're on again. Welcome. Let's jump straight into it. So, I mentioned at the end of the last stream that I wanted to start this little subsection for anyone who is not currently was thinking of running campaign or is running one and just wants some help and stuff like that. that I will. I've got some tips that I kind of wish I knew when I was first starting out and doing all that, everything like that, because it's not easy, and a lot of people are daunted by it, like from the get go. You see, you see the likes of Brennan Lee Mulligan, or you see the likes of Matt Mercer, or any other massive, Dungeons and Dragons cast members, or just streams that are happening, and you're like, that seems fun, I want to try it, I want to do everything like that. But then you look at all the work involved and you're like, it's a lot of work, it's a lot of hard things, and where do I start, what do I do, what if they don't like my stuff, what do they, it's, you kind of start getting in your own head. So what I want to try and do is go through how I first started and what I currently do now, because we all learn, like even the big wigs like Matt Mercer and Brennan and all like that. I watch their stuff, and like everyone else does, they're learning and they learn as it goes. Like I don't just mean like the rules. I mean when it comes down to actually just reacting to players, thinking on the fly, learning and stuff like that. They're all becoming better at it as the more they do it. And it's the same thing when you do running, like when you want to DM or GM. Actually, let's fix that up for everyone. Sorry. GM/GM, because I'm Australian, tips. So one I just wanted to go through is how I run them, which you'll see in hopefully on the 6th we'll be starting, but you'll see how I run them and the kind of agency I give my players, where I've come up with my names, where I get my inspiration from, and everything like that. It's just to help everyone, like who may be struggling or wants to do it and is too scared to kind of dive into it, because like I said, it's a very daunting task, and it's only daunting because you make it that way. Majority of your friends or whoever you're going to play with don't care. Like they just want to have fun. They just want to have a lot of fun with you. And yeah, it's you get as a DMGM, you get into your own head like a lot. And this is where I will try and help everyone out as much as I can, essentially. So with that, welcome. It's a long-winded welcome, but welcome. This is the first for beginners. I'll probably do a couple of beginner ones just when I come up with new ideas I forget, or things I don't remember, or things I come and said I should have said that. And then we've got an intermediate one. I'll do an expert one for people who are very much used to doing DM and GMing, stuff like that, but may not know about some really cool websites, or may not recall musical streams and stuff like that. Anything like that I can help with. So we will dive right into it. Where to start? It starts with you. It starts with the idea of you going, hey, that sounds like a lot of fun. That sounds like something I would like to do. And that is the first part you need to think of. You can, a lot of people look back and they go, I would like to be a player. And a lot of people are permanent players. They'll always be like, I always want to be a player. I don't want to have to run a session. It seems like too much work, or it seems like it's too daunting. I don't think I'll be any good at it. And that's fine. That is 100% fine. You never have to do it. But really, you can find groups out there that want just players and become veteran players, and you'll get used to how it all works and everything like that. But the way to do that is to find a group, and thankfully, there is 1,000 Discord channels you can find out that'll help you do it. Your local game shop, I mean like trading card game shop or pop culture shop, now run D&D sessions and stuff like that. Almost wherever you are, you can find a group of people willing to play D&D, and a lot of them will have, baby's first or my first session type runs, and then you can go from there, which is really cool. Like the concept of Dungeons and Dragons used to be, that's the nerdiest thing in the world. You play make believe. Why would I want to watch that too? I went to Rod Laver Arena, I think, in Melbourne, in Australia, and watched Critical Role with 15 to 20,000 other people, like watching, what I say, nerdy ass voice actors playing make believe. Literally that. Like it's gotten to a point where it's so socially acceptable that I'm really happy with that. So that's why now you can pretty much find a group anywhere. It requires very little effort. You just basically say, like, just be upfront and say, hey, I'm 100% new to this. I don't know what I'm doing. I will try and learn, because it's a lot of the learning, because there's a lot of rule books. Like there's spell rule books, monster books, the actual core rules and everything like that. But a lot of people find it easier because there's a lot of text to kind of absorb. A lot of people find it much easier to simply get better by playing. That's how I did it. Originally, how I originally became a player, or like, not anymore, I'm a forever DM, but when I originally was a player, I learned by playing. I watched some videos online, actually, how old was I? It's been a long time, 15 plus years. I basically had to read some of the books, understand the general mechanics of how it works, and then just go with the flow. And if you go like, can I do this? It is up to the DM or GM, who usually has to have a better grasp of the rules than others. Not 100%, but just a slightly better one. That goes, yes, that can happen, or no, that can't happen, or let's let fate decide and roll the dice, because the dice choose the story, which is really cool. And so, yeah, never be worried that you're gonna make yourself look silly, or you're gonna be put out, or you're gonna make other people wait. When you're in a group of beginners, you're in a group of beginners for a reason. You're learning how to play, and then that now bleeds into being a very first time DM or GM, which is, I won't lie, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, because it's a lot more stressful, but I feel like I get more fulfillment, and I get more kind of like joy out of seeing what my players play. So when I DM or GM, when I first started, it was just my brother and like some friends, and like we were like, I think 15 or 16 at the time, and we basically just, the core rule back, the book back then for rules was very thick. We just made up shit as we went, but we had fun, and so I ran it, and I was like, yeah, this is actually really cool. We did stupid voices, and I still do the stupid voices now, but like, it's awesome. But yeah, it is a little more work. You do prep work and stuff like that, and like I said, we'll go through like where you can start and what to do and everything like that. But never feel like it's out of your grasp, out of your reach, because I believe everyone can do it. Everyone can be a DM or a GM. Everyone can aspire to do it. Everyone can have fun doing it. It does help having a group of people that are like your friends. Your friends, for instance, are great because they already know who you are, how you run, and they're going to be like, "That's fine, go for it. We're not going to hold anything accountable unless they're dicks and they're like, yeah, you suck." But like most people don't. But it's the one thing that the hardest blockade is. It's yourself. You have to kind of persevere against your own internal, the voice in your head being like, what if they don't like this, or what if this doesn't work, and what if I'm doing it wrong? And you need to basically just turn and be like, fuck off. Like, just, you're gonna get better at it, and you're gonna have more fun if you just go with the flow. And that's where I think it's a good place to start. So when I say where to start, I mean literally where to start, which is here, which is dndbeyond.com. A lot of people have seen this website. It's everywhere you can possibly think. Every single person buys books from it. But essentially, this is your digital Bible. This is where you're going to essentially do everything from creating your characters, creating your campaigns. If you want to use official licensed stuff, you can. But if you want to use stuff that you want to create yourself, or if you want to put into the story, you can. That's exactly right. The only way to get better is to do it. Thank you. Someone gets it. Actually, a lot of people get it, but it's nice to hear that, like, verbatim sent back to you. And welcome, by the way. But yeah, it is like, it's very daunting. It's very scary. But when I say, like, actually, I've got like 6 tangents already. All right, I appreciate it. I'm going to try and get into this as much as I can. So, yeah, essentially start here, because it's a very easy website to use. It's very easy to make your own character, make your own campaigns and stuff like that. Like, I've got way too many campaigns running at once, like stuff like that. But same with like your characters, same like that. It's very easy to do, and you get to have a lot of fun doing it. And then you learn some of the rules, actually, funnily enough, going through like your campaign characters and stuff like that. So when you make a character, it gives you an overview of the background of the character, their race. Why is their race like this? What's important to them? Because it gives you a lore drop about each character, and you can be like, oh, cool. Like, you can see here, I'm obsessed with Dragonborns, and I always will. So, unfortunately for the majority of people in my campaign, the most powerful ones are Dragonborns. But it's really helpful just to make a mock character. Jesus. I can't. So my max I had at one point was about 35 different characters, because I was just like, I want to try and make new ones, and then it got out of control, and I was like, I need to dwindle these down. Now I pretty much only use it to make characters to put into campaigns, but yeah, if anyone can beat 164, please let me know, because like that's a stellar record. That's going like, here you go. We got current character record 160. What do we got? 164. That's so good. 164. Damn. That's awesome. So where to start? Yeah, so make a character. Make a character for fun, make a character to learn, and go through all of the traits, go through everything like that, because you will learn a lot of the rules and stuff, and how characters operate through there. Once you've made your character, which we'll use Dullahan, usually you get a character sheet at the end that has a kind of like overview of everyone and what they look like and what they're going to do. But this is just a sheet of paper. Well, I say sheet of paper. It's a digital screen that has all of your abilities and stuff like it, everything on it. But the main thing is, this is now your character, and your character to do it with what you want. So you can make him. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Like, inspiration's everywhere, legitimately, which is why I'm like, here it is. But when you have your character, don't feel scared to be like, oh, I just made a tiefling bard, and he has daggers, and his name is, Clandrestine or something, and you're like, yeah, that's fine, that's cool. And then later on you're like, I don't like it, I want a new one. Just work with your DM or GM. But that's essentially how you make a character, and this is like a good range of learning the rules and everything like that. And you can go from there. That's for like players and DMs. But as a DM, this is where we're going to get into like the real nitty gritty stuff. I'm just going to go back even further. Technically spoilers. Once you've kind of got a character and you've learned some of the rules and you're like, yep, I'm pretty much like I'm cool with the characters I've made and everything like that. And you found a group of friends and you're all ready to go, and you're like, cool, what do I do next? This is where it comes into how much time do you want to sink into the world you're going to run for your party, your friends, your characters, which comes to either homebrew or pre-written. And by pre-written, I mean you have source books in which they have full-blown adventures with pre-written NPCs, pre-written dialogue, pre-written towns. They have, the end goal, how they're going to get there. Of course, they're going to divert a little along the way, but you have basically like the core mechanics of what you need to do to get to point A to Z. It's really good, and I mean this like from the bottom of my heart. It's really good to basically start with like the one that you can buy in the starter kit, because it's a really simple, like almost a one shot at this point that you can run. It gives you a bunch of they all filler content. D&D is just filler content. No one ever really finishes a campaign. Let's be honest. Phandalin. Run like a one shot, which is a one shot. When a one shot is essentially when you want to, instead of having like a 12-month campaign, you should be able to do it in like one sitting, one or two sittings essentially, or sessions I should say, and you should get it done that way. But your other best way is, and this is where it comes into your time sink, is homebrew. What homebrew is essentially when you want to create everything yourself. And by everything, I mean you can utilize the pre-existing world that D&D inhabits, but you're like, I want to make up the towns, I want to make up the NPCs, the world, the laws, the rules, the currencies, like everything you could decide. You're like, I want to make it mine. And this is where a lot of people who, and I don't mean this to be mean, but a lot of people who want to be like fantasy writers, a lot of them started out doing this type of stuff, or they did this because it's an easy way to get that out there and see if it works. If it does work in a session, people might want to read about it in an actual novel. And so homebrew, I find, is a lot of people prefer using homebrew stuff because it makes it kind of feels personal to them. Like they've put the effort in, they've gone, I really enjoy what I'm doing, I really like everything I'm doing, and it's really exciting. Like here comes a tangent, I don't care, but like when I first did my first homebrew, God, it sucked so bad. Oh man, like 19, God, I'm old. Somewhere between 18 to 21, I can't remember, I did my first homebrew, and it was full of edgy characters. It was full of like, there's a war that's just happened, and you're the last sole survivor. What do you do? I'm like, it's just that type of thing where it's just like, it's that real anime main character energy where like there was two party members and they're just like the last lineage of a bloodline that has all this special power, and I'm like, I'm really, really like putting that anime-esque influence on them and all this stuff. But it finished, because we did it for like, I think it was like 3 months. We finished it and I was like, that was sick. That was like I felt like way more fulfilled doing that than using a pre-written one. Pre-written one I did before because I just wanted to learn, and it helped a lot having the kind of template and everything there ready to go. But having a homebrew one that I put my love and effort into, can relate, dude. Everyone can. There's not enough time in the world for homebrew, but like having like your own inspiration and love and ideas and characters put into a world you've created, it just feels it feels nicer, and it feels more fulfilling when a your party enters somewhere like that, and you're like, I know I've planned a cool surprise for him here and stuff like that, or I've planted a cool little bit of backstory tidbit in here for them, and it happens. I'm like, oh, that was awesome, that was cool, and you're just like, oh my heart, oh, I feel so good right now. Like you just that sigh of relief. You're like, please tell me my party members will like it, but you don't get that with pre-written, because with pre-written, it's the closest you'll get to that fulfillment is essentially your spin on the NPCs, or your kind of like way you direct the cast, or the players, we'll call them. It's still cool, and it's a good way to learn like how to kind of maneuver your party, but like you don't get that fulfillment of this is fully written by me and they like it. That's awesome. So I prefer homebrew, but everyone is different. There are some people I know that are like, I just run every single pre-written source book there is because I enjoy it. And I'm like, that's fine. They're written by professionals. They're damn good. Like, they're really good, and a lot of people really like them. Otherwise, there wouldn't be like 10,000 of them, and now there's a whole franchise. Like the whole module thing's franchised now. Exactly right. Yeah, correct. Like, you can take the pre-established ones and homebrew. Literally, the one we're in, the campaign I'm running now, I took the Crooked Moon stuff and warped it into the main campaign we're having now. Instead of the Crooked Moon like being the name of the entire, I call it DLC, but like the source book, I changed it so that the Crooked Moon is an event that has happened once before, and it's happened twice, where enough evil has kind of, melded itself into the land and starts transforming the land into where it becomes an almost alternate reality, and you're in the event called the Crooked Moon. But that's not what it's about at all. I took the themes and stuff like that, and I kind of homebrewed it and put it into it, but like that's not at all what it's about. Like, it's not. But you can do that. Like, Taurus, right? Like, you can homebrew the main things. Curse of Strahd's a massive. Curse of Strahd's got so much filler in it and so much homebrew that people put into it that it becomes almost like a completely different campaign. But you still have like the main NPCs and stuff like that. So it's really cool. But yeah, with homebrew, like where it starts with homebrew starts with you again and what you kind of want to do. So this is where like a big thing for like inspiration comes from. Do you want to homebrew the world? Do you want to homebrew the backstories for the characters? Do you want to homebrew the characters? Do you want to homebrew the NPCs? Hey, female vampire mummies. I don't know where I got some of them. God, it's Dimitrescu, but it's yes, tangent. You keep doing this to me, man. But yeah, with homebrew, you choose what you want to do and how much effort you want to put into it. If you want to spend 6 months creating an entire continent and a map and lands and factions and currencies and languages, so yeah, I did. I can't help my deep fascination for the females vampires of the world. I can't help it. It's a killer weakness of mine. I mean, you in the campaign I'm in now, I have many. So yeah, Resident Evil 8 that destroyed me. That fight with her, I couldn't do it. I was like, I don't want to fight you. You're a big mummy. Please don't leave me. Anyway, so off tangent number 12. So you choose how much you want to put into the effort of your homebrew. It's entirely up to you, and that's your onus that you have to take yourself. And it's fun. It's fun to sit down and go, cool, I'm going to make a continent or a country. I'm going to make a country. You can take Earthrealm or Hellrealm or the Fae or wherever you want to be. Be like, I want to build a country within that is expansive. Like, it is the main country. Like, there's small little minor ones, but I want to build like I want to make the Fae mine. I want to make Earthrealm mine, or Hellrealm, or whatever you want to call it. Like, you can do that, and then you can say, I want to create a backstory. You know, like there was a war 1,000 years ago, and we're still dealing with the repercussions of it now. Like, you can be like, you know, what used to be a large cohesive land has now been split into factions that are at each other's throats, because yes, we may have defeated it, like there may have been one big bad, and we defeated the enemy, but there is, you know, distrust amongst people now. You know, certain races are like, you know, you didn't help as much in the war, stuff like that, and you can kind of make it yourself. But the important part is you just have fun, like legitimately just have fun, create what you want to create. And really, really, the main important thing is be happy with what you've written. Yeah, you probably look at it and be like, nah, that's edgy, whatever, get rid of it, or that sounds silly, or blah, 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 blah. But to others, it may not be. And so that's another thing you can do as well, which we'll go straight into inspiration because I'm bleeding into it. Seek others' advice. So if you're, for instance, guy, I've got this great idea. Send it to someone. Send it to someone that either, one, doesn't play Dungeons & Dragons at all, and just goes, hey, that sounds really cool. Because sometimes that's better in its entirety. It's someone who's never played Dungeons & Dragons and goes, that's a cool, like, sound like, is that from a video game? And if they go, it's from a video game, they're like, no, it's mine. Cool. Sick. It sounds good. I'm in. But then you can also get advice from people like friends or online, because there's forums everywhere. Even the D&D Beyond website has, like, forums you can talk to people for advice. Going, what do you think about this? Does this sound cool? Does this sound okay? And majority of people, that I have seen, I'm not going to speak on behalf of everyone, are generally pretty okay. And I'm more than happy to be like, yeah, you know what, actually, that's pretty, I like that idea. I mean, Dungeons & Dragons is built on theft. I mean that in the nicest way possible, but everyone takes each other's ideas and kind of warps them and changes them. But, like, it's, you know, how nothing's original anymore. But, like, sometimes, you know, they can come up and be like, I saw this person do this, but I want to change it to this. And they'll be like, that's cool. Do that. I think your party will like it. So seek advice. Seek advice from people when you have an idea of, like, things you want to do. If you think if you're second guessing yourself, because a lot of people will. I do. My God, do I second guess myself so frequently. But I feel that when I discuss the ideas I have with other people, I get a better result out of it that way. Yeah, nah. Could be. What's the ring? Also, you can eat snacks on the stream. I don't fucking care. Everyone should be able to do that. Yeah, so it's cool and important to get advice from people. Not just advice, but, like, just so you're not wrapped up in your own head. But other things that can give you inspiration. So, a big one for me, and actually, I kid you not, my main way I get inspiration is music. So, most people will be like, books, shows, anime, like podcasts, like everyone else's campaigns, comic books, you know, novels, whatever it may be. Mine is music. So there is an abundance of there you go. That's it with you. And I mean even video game music. Like there is a lot, like the inspiration, for instance, for something that's coming up that the party doesn't know about. I got massively inspired from one of my favorite video game songs, which is, there is a game called Baton Kaitos on the Switch now and the GameCube, and the song Rumbling of the Earth, just, it's like, it's such a good song. Like, it's just you know what, I just realized I'm streaming. I can just show you guys. Fuck yeah, man, look at this, the power of technology. No, I don't want to do that. It's just YouTube. And this song gave me, like, just an enormous amount of inspiration for so many different things. That one there. That song specifically, like, it has fueled like so many different jungly NPC and also voices, and not just voices but like the personalities for a bunch of NPCs just from listening to it, like on repeat over and over. I really like it. Like, that's all. Plus the game's dope. But like just listening to like that helped me a lot. And then there is, because you know music is pretty much an infinite structure. Like, you'll never listen to every song. You can go out there and basically listen to a bunch of fantasy music from different video games. Video game like music has like this transportation in my mind to just take my thought process to wondrous places where I'm all of a sudden thinking of, you know, like Dragon Age, the Sarah's theme song from Dragon Age Origin, not Origins, Inquisition. You know, Sarah is a lovely bitch, or whatever her name is. That song there, like, made me go, hey, yeah, she's a really cool NPC. Well, what if she was like this? And then I was like, oh, the song's really cool and describes her. What if an NPC was like this? And I was like, cool. And there we go. I've made an NPC. I now have their backstory because of the song, and I now have an idea of their personality because of the song. And it was like that. And then the best thing you can possibly do once you have your inspiration is, for the love of God, please write it down. Or if you don't have like this handy, like, I mean, you don't have a notebook handy, get your phone and get a note-taking app and just jot it down there. I have a note-taking app on my phone that is disgustingly too long with ideas that I pretty much just like. It can be like 5 words. It can be like, hey, you know, Sarah, Dragon Age, Fairy, Archer, Elven Archer, really standoffish personality. And I'm like, that's cool, done. I have an NPC that I like. You can think about it, you can mull about it over the day and whatever you want to do, but like, it's that type of stuff where definitely try and write it down so you don't forget it, because a lot of time you will forget it, and you'll be like, damn, I wish I remember that stuff. Cerebral diarrhea. That's a perfectly apt description for basically every Dungeons and Dragons. Like, yeah, lore dump. It's good, but it's yeah, music is my muse. Music is my go-to for inspiration. Characters, the land, the ideas of, you know, wars, what has happened because of them. A lot of it is definitely other media, and everyone kind of functions differently. But mine is music, and man, it is like a gateway drug to some awesome stuff. And so yeah, that's essentially, like, with inspiration, it can lead you to this, which is your names, places, NPCs, voices, the whole shebang, like the entire thing. When it comes to names, you can either think of them yourselves, or you've got this wondrous website, which is fantasynamegenerator.com. I don't tend to use it too often anymore, but it's better. It's really handy for basically just being like, I have an hour and I want to make 20 quick NPCs so I can have them on the ready for when inevitably the party will definitely ask, what's the name of this NPC? What do they do? What's their family history background? What do they look like? When did they come to this place? Why do they look that way? You can scroll down and you can be like, cool, a Yun Ti, for instance, the snake people. She's a female. She runs a shop. Actually, sorry, they're gender, sorry. But you can be like, cool, Shishi. There you go, done. Write it down. Make a quick description of what they look like. It's a Yun Ti, muscular, large, blackish scales on him. Has an elongated frill, kind of like a cobra. Larger than your normal one, simply because they're a warrior. Handles a halberd really well, but is terrible with archery. Done. There's your character. Write it down, jot it, put it aside. Like, It's you get really used to doing that really quickly when you want to make NPCs. But this website is a godsend. You can also use it for NPCs like enemies, but not just that. You can use it for, if you want to use it for places. So it has a generator name for places and locations, and you can go like fantasy ones, or if you want to be like Gaelic ones, it gives you that kind of like Fey realm, sort to it. But essentially, like it's got everything you can possibly want, so it's really handy. It's good at the start if you're struggling for name ideas for yourself, for your character, because a lot of the time, like, you're like, I want my character to have a badass name. I want him to be like the coolest person on earth, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, you can go for it, but also you're like, you have like 10 different names. You're like, oh, I can't think of any good ones. And you can be like, he's an elf, and you can be like, he's a guy. And you scroll through them and you're like, oh yeah, let's go. Mirafarin Moss Cloud. That's not bad. That's actually not too bad. That's pretty cool. Like, I could probably steal it. I might steal it now. No, actually not, because they're already watching, so they know. But it's very handy for inspiration. Very handy, because you can just sit here, go through here, and be like, Venli. That's a cool name. I don't have to give him a last name. But then you can be like, what would Finley be like? Venli, sorry. What would she be like? And then you can try to think of a backstory from them and stuff like that. So, yeah, an amazing website. If you haven't used it before, please do. It's a lifesaver when you're having like brain farts all the time and you're like, I honestly can't think of like another name. If I have to think of another name, I'm going to go crazy. And that's what this website's for, to keep us sane. Which is good for names and the names of places and stuff like that. If you're doing homebrew and you're like, I want to make a country or continent, you don't have to go crazy. Like, you don't have to be like, I named this land, good lord, Messamasa. That's a terrible name, but whatever. Whatever. Yeah, Messamasa. We'll go with that. It's terrible. We're sticking with it now. It's a war-torn country, or it's a country that's been living in peace and they have never known conflict and blah blah blah. You can leave it at that, and like, you grew up in a small village deep in the mountains, kind of segregated from everyone else. You grew up there, very nomadic lifestyle, blah blah blah. That's how your place is. That's how you can write a place like that. You don't have to do any of that. You can just be like, hey, like, for instance, we're in the Fae at the moment. I've warped the Fae and changed it because you can, but we're just in the Fae at the moment because the Fae is with the wobbly timey-wimey, everything is weird. It does whatever it wants. You can still say you're in the Feywild, and everyone goes, oh, cool, I know what that is. That's basically Alice in Wonderland on even more drugs. But you can be like, yeah, we're in the Fae. Or you can be like, you're on Earthrealm. And that's it. You can be like, Earthrealm is just what majority of the source books are about. You'd be like, that's where Strahd is. That's where Tiamat is. Like, everyone's a part of this. Or you can be like, oh, we do, planetary, travel on a ship like they've just done now. Or you can be like, there's different planes of existence and stuff like that. Or different planes that you can visit that are conquered by dragons, or only by dragons, or only by certain species. Like, you choose what you want to do. But you don't feel the necessity to go, I need to have a full map drawn out of how, this race doesn't like this race, or how this doesn't like that, and stuff like that. I'm not saying you don't have to, you definitely can, but you may burn yourself out to the point where you may never run the campaign because it's just too large. And you've made it too large, and now you're like, oh my god, I've put so much effort into this. I hope these players like it. And if they don't, when I say they don't, they may not be as invested. And they may not be. Most likely, they definitely won't be as invested in what you've created compared to what you've created, because you're the one who created it. And you should never hold that against them, because it's not healthy. But the more effort you put in, and then you don't see the return, it can start to feel kind of, makes you feel a little bit down. You're like, well, I'm putting all this effort in, why don't I like it? But that's not, that's everyone's different. They're going to run it differently. They're going to absorb it differently. They're going to interact with it differently. And so that's when I make my stuff. I like to give a lot of player agency. So I have the building blocks sitting there. I have specific things I've created that I like, and I will lead them to it. Or I've made a town that I really like Anvil they're going to after this, hopefully, if they want to, and stuff like this. But if they get there and they're like, oh, I don't like it, I'm like, that's cool. It's fine. It doesn't bother me. I'm not going to be like, my 6 months of hard work is thrown out the drain, which it definitely does do that. We're like, I have a full encounter ready to go. I have all this stuff ready to go. All I have to do is simply walk forward, and they're like, I'm going to do the perfect you around what you just did because I outsmarted you, DM. And you're like, yep. Yeah, you are. You certainly did. I'm going to go have a break and go scream at my pillow for a second, if you excuse me. It's funny. It is to a degree funny when they do that. When you're like, I've planned all this stuff like that. That's when you can recycle your content. You're like, what was there just lifts and goes somewhere else, and you just repurpose it because you're like, I'm not letting that mind thought go to waste. But you should never hold it against the players because that's what player agency is about. I have been in campaigns where you were not allowed to divert from the realism that this DM created. I mean, let's do story time. I have been in a campaign where it was hyper realistic, and by hyper realistic I mean you needed to drink, you needed to eat, which you do, but I mean you had a kind of like a check to see how hungry you were getting, how much nourishment you had, how much water you did, if you got dysentery, if you got the common cold, if you got sick, all of that. And I'm like, dude, I just want to play D&D. I just want to hit things. I went bard. I always go bard. Bards are the best. I was like, I just want to play my loot. I just want to earn some money. I just want to be a street rat. I want to stab someone. I just want to do this stuff. But you're making me go to the market and buy food and rations and enough to make sure I'm good, and my gold is weighted, and the NPCs are asking me all these questions like, do you have a bedroll? Is the bedroll thick enough? Is it warm enough? Are you going near mountains where the climate gets colder? The higher you get, the less oxygen you have. I'm like, bro, I don't fucking care. This is too much. And it went like this I lasted longer than I thought it would. I think like 6 months. And it got to a point where me and my brother just got up and we're like, we're done. I cannot deal with this anymore. This is a nightmare. Because I think he just wanted complete, total control over our choices. And it should never be like that. It does not breed a healthy session, doesn't breed a healthy group of people. It just makes everyone's lives horrid. And you're just not having fun. And the point of all of this, the point of Dungeons and Dragons in its entirety is fun. F-U-N. F-U-F-Un. Fuck me. It's about having fun, people. Story time's over. So when you're making names or places or NPCs and voices, don't ever get so far into your own head that you feel like you're not good enough. You are. You're a beautiful individual, and I'm sure that what you've cooked up for your party, they will enjoy. And if they don't take it to heart, because not everyone likes the same things you like. You just be like, hey, use it as a learning experience. Be like, hey, they didn't like that fight with, against those monastery monks because they were evil. Maybe they're not into the cultist thing like that. I now know that, so there's no more cultists around. Because cultists have been done to death. Maybe they're like zombies or skeletons, and you try that. And you just keep going. You learn as you're going, and you grow as a DMGM by just playing. And then you start to really get into the crux of what your players like, and then you start getting reactions out of them, and you're like, cool, gotcha. Now I've got my kind of hook. I've got you. Now I know what to do, and you keep doing those things. And that's what it's about. You just keep getting better at it by keep doing it. Same thing with the voices. Yes, you will see Brennan and Matt and a bunch of other DMs do voices. And look, one, that's their job. And I mean, before they did Dungeons and Dragons, their job was literally to do voice acting. They still do it. Like, so they're gonna be good at it. You don't have to do it. There's a shit ton of DMs that just don't do it. I do it because I'm an idiot and I have too much confidence and I find it fun. But you don't have to do it. Like, it's not a necessity. And once again, depending on who you play with, the majority of the time, if you're playing with friends, they won't care either. They will just be like, I'm just here for the ride to have fun and for you to facilitate this for us. Like, that's essentially what you're going to get out of it. So don't ever feel like you need to do voices. It's not necessity. If you want to try some, just pick major NPCs. Like, you don't have to do every NPC. Like, I try to, but like, I'm an idiot. You don't have to do every NPC because, like, you know, if you think about a town, there's a fuck ton of people in it. There's a lot of people in it, and they're all going to have their own distinct voices. And you're in your head, you can be like, oh my god, do I have to do like 20 different voices when talking and stuff like that? You're going to start overlapping voices with other characters. Pick your major NPCs, like your major, really important to like the plot pivotal characters. Try them first, because one, you'll be able to practice their voice more because they're going to be in the story more often, so you're not going to muck up their voice with someone else's. So that helps a lot, because then you start getting into the rhythm of being that character and talking to the players as that character. Like Lamb, for instance. Lamb's like, don't worry, like, we will get through this together. I have stories to tell you, and then we can get through it if you want to. That's okay. Like, you want to talk like that, that's okay. He can talk like this all the days he wants. But I've got other NPCs that have that kind of voice that sounds really similar to their Mediterranean voice. Like, it's like Italian, but not quite. But he talks like this when he wants to. And he's a very soft-spoken individual. And then you've got his wolf, the opposite, the one who has a deep, gruff voice. Because they're in it so often, I can now do that on command, because I've practiced it. But you don't have to do that. It's just fun to do. Like I said, I'm just an overconfident idiot who likes acting like a moron for his friends. So, voice is the one that a lot of people get really hooked up on, but just the important thing, and I should have written before, session 0. This is where you can kind of lay your ground rules. What session 0 is usually when you're running a session, you'll be like, this is session 1, this is our first episode, blah blah blah, this is awesome, let's get this going. Session 0 is your planning session and also your rules session. So, like, that's a 9. Oh my god. You know, I can't see because of this. Close enough. We get how it works. Yeah, you're playing in rules. This is where you want to get the help and advice from your players. You want to see what they're happy to do, as in, like, with your characters. Like, all right, so let's go from the top to the bottom. You sit them down on a web call or in person, whichever one takes your fancy, and you're like, cool, we're gonna run my homebrew session. It's set in the world of Calistraza. You know, it's set in this world. It's just like normal Earth. There's no extra special things and stuff like that. You know, some battle will happen longer. You can give them a bit of exposition and stuff like that if you want to. But you're basically like, this, it's just a normal world. Which then gives the players helpful advice to be like, cool, because they're going to make their characters. They then go, I want to make a backstory for my character. Some people may not. Some people may be really vague and go like, I'm not too sure, can you help me with it? And that's where session 0 comes in to help. You can be like, yeah, let's work on it together, where you're like, you know, what does your character look like? And they're like, oh, you know, I'm a tabaxi, which are the large cat-like, you know, anthropomorphic cat-like creatures. You'd be like, oh, cool, like, what's he look like? He's like, oh, he's got the cheetah pattern. It's like, oh, do you want him to hail from, you know, an African society or a desert area, you know, where he's learned to run, you know, like type of thing, where he's had free reign to hunt and stuff like that, you know. And you'd be like, oh yeah, that's cool. Like, you come to these conclusions by talking with your party and their characters, and this is because you've had a session 0. It also is really good for putting down ground rules. And I don't mean ground rules like you need to listen to me and this is my rules for this world. I mean ground rules like, what are you comfortable dealing with? Like, are you comfortable with the idea of, unfortunately, like a child might have been murdered because a whole village got murdered and there were children there. Some people were like, I don't like that, I'm not comfortable with it. Are you comfortable with NPCs having relationships and they may hit on you and stuff like that? Where's your line and stuff like that? Learn where your characters and your players' comfortabilities lie and stick to that so hard. Never delve out of that, because you do not want to I am so incredibly comfortable with hot goth vampire mummies. It's a little worrying. It's a little worrying. But so I am. So I am. But it's a good planning session of comfortable rules where it's, are you okay with sex? Are you okay with the R word, like RAPE? Are you happy with domestic violence? Like these are real situations. Like, I have ideas of an NPC who has done these things and you're all like going to hunt him down, but I need to explain why he's on the run. And some people will be like, yep, that's fine as long as it doesn't happen to me and stuff like that. Does your character, identify as a certain gender, even though there are things like that? Like, basically get the rules down pat so that your characters feel at ease and they feel comfortable and that they feel like you have listened to them and that you have heard them and they feel heard. Because you're going to have a much better time without treading on the toes of people's beliefs. Not just beliefs, how they feel and how they're going to respond to you, because it's a very important task for you to do when you're facilitating the kind of story and everything like that. There has been too many DMs in the past that have been cancelled, and not just cancelled, who are just blindly oblivious to what they've done to their characters and their players, because they're just like, it'd be funny. It'd be funny. What if this character got hit on and he wouldn't take no for an answer? Or she's hitting on the male character, she's not taking no for an answer. It's like, no, it's not okay. It's not okay. You should have you really need to get these rules down pat first. They're the harder rules to discuss with people, because some people are very reserved and like, I don't really want to talk about it. But if they don't, that's fine. That's up to you. But other rules are things like getting your players' characters and going through them together, and be like, the character's like, hey, can I have a custom backstory where he used to be, for instance, he used to be captain of the guard in a once forgotten land, but he got transported from an old plane of existence to this one, but he still has his armor and stuff like that with him, and it's adorned with this special gold emblem on it that's the long forgotten relic and stuff like that. Those types of things. You like, does it give him extra bonuses? Does it not give him extra bonuses? Does it just look ornamental and it's really nice and stuff like that? Does it weave into his backstory? Does it weave into your world building? And then so you can discuss it with him and really, help you, kind of connect with your players and connect with their characters. And if they go, hey, can you help me write my backstory? That's also where you can be like, yeah, cool. Would you like your backstory to be implemented into the main story? And if they go, yes, I would, you'd be like, cool. Do you mind if when I implement it into the main story, which is what I did with a few of the ones I do now, if your character's either demeanor or physical appearance or things may change over the course of time? And if they go, yeah, sounds cool, then that's cool. You've come to a kind of agreement. And always check back in just to make sure you're still okay with what's happening, because if something big happens and you're like, for instance, like Uxorian growing in, actually, because Uxorian's character, he's our druid, he's 3.5 feet, was it 2.5, 3.5 feet? He just had something happen to him which he physically grew, and he wasn't supposed to. His whole thing is he's at max height, but something happened to him and he's actually taller now. And so it was good that we came to the conclusion. He's like, oh, yep, I'm comfortable with that. I trust you. I was like, that's cool. So it's always good to kind of talk with your players and really get that kind of nitty-gritty stuff out of the way. But also planning your days and your sessions. So like you'd be like, do we want to do it on a Monday, or Wednesday, or Friday, or Saturday, or Sunday, or Tuesday, or Thursday? I said them in the wrong order. I know, I get it. It's weird, but I did it. But work out your schedule, because the scheduling is the bane of every D&D session's existence. Like, it is the hardest thing to uphold. But if you can all buckle down and go, yep, I'm happy to chuck aside 3 hours on X day to run this through, I'm good. And that's where you can be like, cool, this date, let's do it. And then you give them ample time to put aside the time, and then once you start getting it going, you'll start to notice that once the ball gets rolling, the majority of people are like, damn, yeah, I'm good, let's keep going. And then that time, instead of them going, oh, I have to move stuff out of the way, it's more like, no, I make room for you. D&D comes first. It's not the opposite. It's very funny. That's another really cool thing you can do in a session 0. Essentially, it's just you want to encompass everything as far as rules, planning, exposition, characters, yourself, how you're going to run it. If there's a really specific attribute to your country or your place you've made, if the currency is different, like in the Fae I'm running, we got Luro and Kuro, so like it's there's light currency and dark currency, which is Kuro. Like that's it. There's only 2 currencies. Like if you want to establish those before they jump in and stuff like that, you can do that. All those very small things that may take you out of your actual session because you have to explain them, you can do in 0, which is great. And so that's why a session 0 is really important, just so you can kind of get everyone on board, figure out if you're going to do in person, if you're going to do digital. If you're going to do digital, how are you going to do it? Like you're going to run Roll20, like you're going to run, like it's a whole thing. And that's why you should do it. And then it comes down to the big day. You have prepped as much as you can possibly can. It will never be enough because yes, because it's just how it works. You've got your notes, you've got your book full of we're good, there's no spoilers. You've got, I was about to hold this, I'm like, please don't watch that again. You've got your book full of notes, names, characters. You've got dice, or you can use D&D Beyond because it's got digital dice. You've got, like I do, which is like this lovely thing here. It's a big folder with like all of the character names I've got and stuff, and like what they look like so I don't forget and everything like that. Calculator, like I've got heaps of notes and stuff. So you've got all that ready. You've got your players ready, hopefully. They have all their character sheets, all their characters and stuff like that. You have met at someone's house. You are either on, or you're meeting online. And you begin. You can begin anywhere you want to do it. You can do the whole, you meet at a tavern, you've been sold into slavery, you run into each other in a bandit camp, any way you want to do it. Like, you happen to be waking up in the exact same, hotel or tavern at the same time, and you hear a ruckus and you come downstairs and there's a brawl happening. You take part in the brawl because you notice that someone's in the middle of it that looks like they're going to get hurt too hard, and then you get arrested for it. You run the session the way you want. It's your session. It's your little baby to run and everything like that. But the important part of running the session is you. And I don't mean to say like you're above the players, because you're not. You're just facilitating them. Without them, there is no you. Without you, there's no them. So you're on equal ground. A lot of people are trying to think that like the DM is like the god of everything and stuff like that. It's like no. I just have to make sure that you guys don't like. I have to keep you in check. It's like babysitting people, like babysitting adults. It's like I just have to make sure you don't do stupid shit. Like it's literally that. Like daycare for adults with fantasy armor on. It's great. You love it. It's the job of the people. But when you run the session, you this is where this is the greatest amount of information you will learn, because you are actually running it. You're actually running the session. And so when you run the session, this is when you'll be like, oh, I'm a bit nervous. I don't know how to explain the environment. And once again, you do not have to go into some intricate, massive amounts of detail of the place around you and stuff like that. You will just basically be like, you happen to wake up in a dungeon, and there's chains you can hear clinking for the people who are still attached to the walls. There's water dripping from the ceiling onto the floor because it's obviously underneath the sewage system. It's cold, it's dank, you wake up with a headache. You don't have to do more than that. You can even do less than that. You'll be like, you wake up in a dungeon. Most people will know what a dungeon looks like. They understand it. But you don't have to go into some large exposition. I do. I can't help it. But you don't have to go into a large exposition about what it looks like, because a lot of people, even if you describe it to the nth degree, will still have a different visualization of what that looks like compared to you. And that's another important thing. No matter what you visualize in your head and try and portray that to your players, they're still going to look at it differently. They may look at it the same way, which is awesome, but they more likely than not are going to visualize something completely different. And that's just because everyone's mind's different, everyone's imagination's different. So it's don't ever think that you need to go into some grandiose detail over like what the landscape looks like or what the smells are like. Or you can, by all means, you're allowed to do whatever you want, but never think that you're doing not enough or too much. You're doing the right amount for yourself. And you'll start to learn what your players respond better to. If you're noticing that they're really listening to you when you're doing exposition or you're explaining what somewhere looks like, you're like, it's a dungeon. They're like, oh yeah. Well, what's going on in the dungeon? You can be like, oh, actually, it's it's underground. Like, oh yeah. That's really cool. Like, what else? That's when you can you listen to your players and you feed off them, and that's when you learn. You're like, oh, they like detail. Or it can be the opposite, where they're just kind of like, yeah, I get it. The grass is green. We're in a fieldy meadow. Let's go kill cows. You're like, I get it. They don't give a shit about the fact that there's daffodils everywhere and it smells nice, like honey and stuff like that, whatever you want to do. They don't give a shit about it's a cool breezed morning and it's in the middle of, high noon or whatever. They don't care. They're just like, they see a cow with like an extra set of horns because it's a demon. They want to kill it. So you learn off your players. And then once again, just don't get upset at them, because it's never fun, and they're just waiting for the ride. And so you're running the session, and you're learning as you're going. So you're obviously you're describing the scene. You're going, what would you like to do? Your players are like, oh man, I can do whatever I want. It's like, oh, I want to talk to the guy and say, release me, I'm not supposed to be here, or something like that. I'm going to fight him, I'm going to grab him through the bars and try and ring him against the thing, but he hits he hits my hand with the back of his sword, and actually causes a mark and stuff like that. Like that's where it starts to become like you start getting into it, and then that's when you'll start learning, and then you'll start doing the whole thing of I've got some other things, but the other thing is like agency. So like your players, are they starting to, embody and encompass who their characters are? Are they really getting into it, or are they like a bit like they're like, I don't. And once again, everyone's different. Never judge. But if they're like, I just want to be my character, but I don't want to be my character. Some people really get into it. Some people are like, I just like being my character. I like being me, but I am pretending to be this other person. And that's fine. Once again, everyone's different. Everyone's got their different levels of comfortable that they are with. And so you basically go, yeah, that's fine. What would you like to do? So like they say they get out of the dungeon, they're released. They have to complete a task, and it's like, you've been given your task, but now you're in the courtyard. Oh, sorry, not a courtyard. You're in the market square of this village, which we'll just call it, Nightshade. And you're like, cool. You're in Nightshade Village. You're in the market square. It's bustling. It's loud. There's lots of different markets. There's lots of different people. Kind of like, when you step outside, the sun blares into your eyes. You kind of have to shield it as you're looking around, and you feel a sense of relief of getting fresh air once again, and you can be like, what do you do? What would you like to do? Do you want to go straight to completing your task? Or the characters might be like, oh, cool, I have free agency to do what I want now. Is there a tavern? Like, yeah, there's a tavern over there. It's there's a tavern over there. There's a bunch of different shops. There's a blacksmith you can hear ringing away as he's making armor and swords. You can see there's a guild hall at the very end. It's the largest structure around, so it's very hard to miss. And you give them kind of like the idea of what they can see around them. And so once they kind of get that idea and they run with it, give them free agency. A lot of DMs, and at some point you will have to kind of rein them in, where you're like, I have given these people too much free agency, and what was a simple, I'm going to go meet the Queen, has ended up in a civil war. That's called too much agency. It's like, how did they get there? Who knows? But it's just like you basically learn to control the fine line between anarchy and railroading. Like there's a times where you have to railroad because like it'd be like, we've done 8 sessions of shopping. Can we please, for the love of God, leave this market? I don't care if you like the bread that the bakers are making or the cupcakes that the little fairy is making because they remind you of home. It's lovely, it's great. But can we please go to the guild hall and start that's where you're like, let's railroad this a bit by going, cool, nightfall happens and there's a curfew and you don't have anywhere to stay, but the guild offers free accommodation for adventurers. And what are you? An adventurer. And they're like, oh, I guess we could go there. And you're like, there it is. I just railroaded you without making it too obvious. But sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes you have to be like, I'm sorry, guys. I love what you're doing. I love that you're really getting into it, but we need to move this along. And then there's the opposite, where you're like, cool, like, I am happy to give you guys the free reign you want. And if you want to literally go shopping for 6 hours, that's fine by me. Like, if they want to keep doing that, it's fine. Yeah, sure, the campaign will probably never finish, or what was supposed to be a 6-month campaign, you're now 2.75 years into it, and you're still shopping. But are they having fun? Are you having fun? Then that's all that matters. That's the main thing. So your agency for your players comes down to how much you want to control them. And when I mean control, it's a very strong word. How much you want to guide them, that's a nicer word. How much you want to guide them with instructions. Like, if you're like, cool, we're getting nowhere, and the stake of the world is at, that the state of the world is at stake, but they're too busy going like, should I wear the green tunic or should I wear the red tunic when I fight the goth mummy queen? Which one should I wear? You're kind of like, okay, let's maneuver on. Let's move on to bigger and better things. So that is a task you will learn as you do it. You'll learn your players. You'll learn their kind of the way they run things, the way they do things. Some players get really into like wanting to see everything around them. Some players will literally be like, I don't care. I'm here just to kill things. I'm basically a mercenary. I joined with you guys because you promised me bloodshed. So whatever you want to do, I'll follow until I fight. So you're going to learn. And because you may be new, and that's the point of this stream, is if you are new and you're worried that, oh, my players aren't listening to me, or they're going too far frolicking, or they're not really doing, that's when, like I said, seek advice. There are forums for people like, you can be like, hey, I'm running a session. This is what my party's done. It's been 6 sessions of shopping. How do I make these buffoons leave the market before they basically spend all the gold I gave them at the start on nothing but frivolous bullshit? That's when you can be like, cool, seek advice and stuff like that. There's plenty of people that you can talk to and they'll help you out. There's always forums open to seek advice. And as I say, like I said, talk to your friends, talk to people who don't do Dungeons and Dragons, like anything where an outside voice could help you with an idea to help people go. And maybe once you start, maybe these people are like they have too much agency, and they actually would like you to rein it in a bit and be like, no, guys, let's do this. Like, you're being too passive. And once you start doing it, you notice that they start, like, once again, bad word, complying. But once they start being like, oh, cool, yeah, let's do this. I said there's a cool story bit coming out. That's when you start like, all right, cool. So they just need a little bit of hand holding. Otherwise, they might wander off. Like you're babysitting children again. You can't let them wander off too far. And so you'll learn that by playing. And you'll learn a lot of things by simply doing. And it's fun. It is fun and rewarding and exciting, and it is like daunting, very daunting, because you're always going to hyperfixate and worry, am I doing enough? Is this fun? Are my players enjoying this? Am I boring? Are they bored? Should I have skipped this week? Your mind is going to rattle the cage of your cerebral cortex a lot, because you're always going to worry. But you'll learn over time that you'll learn your players, you'll learn their characters, you'll learn what they like and don't like, and then you'll start to those dissonant whispers in your mind will start to disappear, because you're like, cool, I am learning alongside them and now I understand what they like, so X content won't work, but Y content will work. And then you'll place that into your thing so that they like it. It's the same thing with like combat versus RPing. Some people have rules where they're like, oh, I reckon you should have combat every single session. And there's some people who are like, please don't do that, because I am not up for the concentrational part of focusing on moving navigational like tokens around a screen and thinking of dimensions and thinking of damage dice, where all I want to do is just talk and pretend to be my character. So you can talk that in your session 0. You can discuss that in your session 0, where you're like, hey, how much combat do you want? How much RPing do you want? Do you want none? Do you want heaps? Do you want whatever you want to do? Kind of set the tone. Or you can just run with it yourself. You're the one who's DMing. You're the one that's coming up with the ideas and everything like that. And it's like I said, because you're learning, you'll start to notice when there's too much combat, not enough combat. You'll start picking up on when combat's too easy or too hard, and you're like, cool, I realized that was too hard. I nearly TPK'd my entire party. We almost ended that campaign several years, months early. And you'll learn. And you'll learn really quickly, because you're with friends and you're playing a fucking sick game of make-believe with your gang. I think aside from that, the only real major other things I have that can help is, heck, reach out to me. I love talking DM stuff with other DMs. It's great. It's a lot of fun. I like hearing other people's ideas. I like seeing how they run things on Twitch. I like seeing other Twitch streamers' videos and how they run and stuff like that. Sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, that's a cool idea, and that's really cool, and you message them and you're like, that's cool, can I use it and stuff like that. You'll see things online, you'll see pictures and stuff like that, but it's a very much a big, you do what you want to do, and you learn with your players, and you pick a bunch of friends that you get along with. It makes it easier at the start if you know the people, that's for sure, because not that it'll be more lenient, but you kind of get them and they get you, so you don't have to put on as much of a bravado, as much effort, as much like voices and stuff like that, because they're like, dude, it's fun. Just do what you want to do. I just want to try D&D. I just want to have fun. They're more likely to do that. Whereas randoms, you don't know their expectations. They may be like, hey, you heard of this guy called Matt Mercer? I want you to be him, but better. And if you're not, well, we'll have words. And then you're like, well then, I'm just crying on the inside right now. But I always recommend starting with people you know, or friends, or even like majority of friends and maybe one random. It doesn't matter. Just people that you know well enough that you like, yeah, I feel comfortable being myself around you, but just being the guiding voice for the story. Um, the only other major things I have is uh, keep all your notes. Like I say, keep your notes somewhere, but also like you can learn to do like I do, which is your plethora of bookmarks. I have up the top, so I've got like other websites, which is like how to make a free letter generator, or if I want free battle maps, or a potion generator, a loot table generator too. Like if you're like, because if you're always worried about not being prepared, you're not gonna always have loot available, especially when like party members are like, you walk into a room and there's a bunch of tipped over barrels and stuff like that, and you can see someone that's like, was here recently, but they've passed over and they've moved away and stuff like that, and they're like, what's in the barrels? You're like, cool. Can you roll an investigation check for them? And they're like, yep, cool. And then they're rolling 9. You're like, you find some old scraps and stuff like that, and whatever liquid was inside of it is poured out onto the ground, so it's no longer obtainable. And they're like, okay, cool. If you can't think like that on the fly, you can use a loot generator, which literally, I think I have one, lets you essentially make a loot pool almost immediately. I've got one somewhere. I don't really use it because I'm usually just able to think on the fly, but I've got someone there. Doesn't matter. There's loot generators on. Once again, I'm streaming. I can just type it in. Let's do this together. D&D loot generator. Loot generator. There you go. Done. That's now. I've used this a couple of times before, so this is another good one. You can just be like, cool. Like, what level's the party? What are they doing? It's party loot. What level are they? They're 5 to 10. Roll. There you go. There's a bunch of loot. Good news is, it tells you what it does too. So you can put it in there for anything for them. You don't have to give them all that because that's a lot of stuff for doing one thing. But it takes that kind of... Sorry, I'm starving. It takes that kind of panic or the waiting period between the character going, what did I get? And you'd be like, you got, oh, actually, give me a second. This. It tells you here. So, these are great tools when you're still learning how to think on the fly. And that's another major thing. Like a lot of people, a lot of people get caught up in their minds. Like, what if I can't think of something really quickly, or what if I'm not quick enough with like ideas, or what if what if my party members want explanations for things, but I'm not good at that? That's fine. That's fine. Just you're gonna, like I said, it's your first time doing it, or if it's not your first or your second time, you're learning. You're going to make mistakes. Not only will you make mistakes, but you will most likely bung up the rules, or you'll forget names and stuff like that. And this is why it's always good to play with friends, because they'll be like, yeah, it's fun. Oh well. Or they might rag on you, but they're not going to hold it against you. They're not going to be like, you're the worst DM ever. Like, never do this for us again. They're going to be like, oh, that was kind of funny. You forgot that he had like a Irish accent because he's a dwarf. When instead you gave him like, an English one, like governor. And you're like, oh yeah, I did. And you're like, oh, it's funny. Anyway, they move on. So, that's where things like this can come in handy, where you can go, cool, I want a quick loot generator. Or if I'm like, cool, I want to make a quick potion generator, like, what does this potion do? Generate potion. Cool, it's a boiling liquid that's olive in colour. What does it come in? It's a drinking horn. You don't have to do that. The ends of your fingers become sticky. You can now climb walls for 1d4 hours. So you get them to roll a 1d4. They're like, oh, cool, they rolled 3. It's like, yeah, for 3 hours, you're Spider-Man. That's pretty cool. Like, these are great. There's a plethora of them online that you can find that are very handy. There's ones for names, which you've seen. There's one for potions. There's one for loot. 2-minute tools. You want tokens. Like if you're playing online, you want to make some tokens and stuff like that. you can literally do that. You can just be like, cool, I want to drow with a rogue, and they'll be like, cool, there you go. And you're like, oh, cool, these are cool. Maybe they may not match you exactly, but there's enough there to look close enough that you're like, oh, these are actually really sick. I'm gonna do this actually. So these websites you can go through here, pick what you want, be like, hey, drowned master, that's cool. But yeah, these are all websites like that. And so a lot of people have already made articles describing these types of websites, and you bookmark them, and you keep them so you don't forget them, like I did for the loot generator one. I swear it's here somewhere. There's just too many, like, shit to do. But bookmark them so you can keep them and use them later. Same with items, like you've got them here if you forget what they look like. If you've got lore ideas for characters and stuff like that you want and everything like that. Enemies as well, if you're like, instead of having to type it in and stuff like that, you can put it in alphabetical order and be like, oh cool, I just need the I just need the stat block sheet for this thing. You can have it here ready to go. You can just load it up and you're like, here we go. So like werewolf, you're like, oh, I don't remember like what the stat block for a werewolf is. You're like, it's all good. There it is. I've gone and bookmarked it. So you can either look it up manually. Sometimes it takes a bit long, or you can bookmark the shit out of your computer so it basically can't run anymore, and have them all here. And also, once again, if it comes down to homebrew, a lot of people have made their homebrew stuff. Some of it's really cool. You can take it and then transmogrify it yourself if you want. Like, or same thing, you take these enemies, like, isn't they got 58 health? My party members are all level 3 each. Their rough damage per turn is like, 15 to 20. This dude's gonna die real quick, and he's supposed to be formidable. So you're like, maybe I'll times that by 2.5. So he's got about 160 health, so he's a bit harder to beat. He's a mini boss or something like that. And you'd be like, oh, he only does 1d8. You'd be like, no, I'm gonna make it a 2d8 plus 4, something like that. So you can work with the characters you want and change them. But bookmarks are important because sometimes you think of things and you can't remember them, like docs, like NPC lists and everything like that. You're like, oh, I've forgotten all this stuff, but you can put it down in docs and then save it here, which is really handy for like everyone and especially you. It's all about making your life easier and your life more fun, so you're back to the game and enjoying it much easier. And that is essentially the crux of it. There is still like 10 million other things that I can tell, but the main takeaway you want from all of that, all of it you want is have fun. Simply have fun, and don't be too hard on yourself. Yeah, a lot of people will. A lot of people will be like, I don't think I was good enough, or I think it was too boring, or I can't do voices, or blah 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 blah. And it's really hard to kind of stop that negative thoughts in your heads. But don't compare yourself to other people. That's an important one, because a lot of people compare themselves to professional D&D players and stuff. Never do that, because that is not who you are. If you want it to be who you are, and that's your aspiration, power to you, and I hope you succeed. I truly do. But you do not need to do that. So never compare yourself to other people. Simply go in there, go, hey, I've got an idea for a campaign. Do you want to run it? They're like, yeah. You make characters together, you make the world, the rules, and then you basically go, cool, let's do this. And then you just run it with a bunch of mates and see what happens. And majority, I would say more likely than not, that you're going to have fun and they're going to have fun, and some actual ridiculous shenanigans will happen, because majority of players I've seen, or like DMs I've seen, give a lot of good agency, where it's like you allow them to a degree do what they want to do. But the majority of it is, yeah, you just need to get in there. Don't be too hard on yourself. Put effort in if you want to, but don't burn yourself out to the point where you're like, no, I don't want to do it, because you've just spent too much time on world building and everything like that. Don't compare yourself to other people, because that's never a healthy attribute to have. And just have fun. Truly just have fun. That's the main thing. You know, you're gonna learn. You're gonna learn as you go, and that's the best way to do it. Just dive in, start doing it. You're gonna get better at the whole thinking on the fly thing, or creating content on the fly, which is like what a lot of when people are like, how'd you prep for your session? And a lot of DMs have been doing it for a while. Like, the fuck is prepping? I just roll with it, guys. Like, it's true. There is a substantial amount of parts of campaigns that are literally just from up here, from the top of the noggin, not from like you've created it, nothing. You're just given a question or an area, and your own brain just goes, I got this, watch this, and just fills it in for you. And a lot of the time, that's where some of the best spontaneous stuff happens, because you're like, that was really cool. I thought that on the fly, because that's what you do. And you get used to it. You start being able to think quicker. You start being able to retaliate easier. You start being able to actually, have easier conversations. And it's just time. It's just patience and have fun. And that's the crux of it, essentially. That's what Dungeons and Dragons is about. It's about having fun and playing make-believe with a bunch of people that you like, and that are also there to have fun and play make-believe with someone who's in charge of them and babysits a bunch of adults. That is D&D. And that's what we're here for. So, I said at the start, I think that the current goal is the 6th of August. The 6th of October is what we're currently locked in for our first official stream session of us playing. Because we've been playing already, and I've done the recap videos, and I'll continue to do these DM ones because I enjoy them, and I've got other ideas. I've got heaps. But our official session, where everyone can watch, was hopefully the 6th of August, 6th of October, and we usually play from around 8-ish. Majority of the time, it's 8 Australian Eastern Standard Time. Whether or not it changes, don't know. But for now, that's what it is, and it works really well. So. With that, I hope to see you all in the next DM tips one. I'll do another beginner one, but also another intermediate one for people who want more help with, like, how did you do your world building? How did you think of rules? How did you come up with these pre-written, that type of stuff where it gets to more nitty gritty stuff. Would these rules work and stuff like that? How do you plan, all that type of stuff? How do you plan for how do you prep for your sessions? Because I joke about saying we don't prep. You still do, because it's really hard to run a game if you don't. But that'll be in the intermediate one. But the 8th of August. Oh my god, the 6th of August, 6th of October. My lord. You know what? There you go. First streamed session. Isn't that better? See, this is why we write notes. Because now it's right in front of me. So 6th of October, our first stream session. Back after our hiatus. Because I had a child. Another one. My little platoon. Yes. 6th of October, first stream section back after our hiatus. That's for everyone. I mean, not just you guys, but us too. We have not had our session for 8 weeks, 9 weeks. It's been a long time, and I'm like, I want to do it again. I want to have fun. Because we're listing a good point. Join us on that, please. Leave a follow so you can actually make sure you get notified when we start the stream. I'll put it in the schedule section of Twitch, so it's actually there. And regardless if you can't make the live stream because of time zones and stuff like that, we upload all of them to YouTube as our little archive of history, so you can watch them there as well. So if you did want to see what happens with our shenanigans, because Jesus, there's a lot of shenanigans, but God, it's fun. You can watch it there. But the main important thing is, if you can catch us on Twitch, that's the best time, because you get to see live reactions to everything, and you get to interact with us while we're playing, which is what we're going to try and do. So, very new to it. I'm not new to streaming, that's why I'm able to do this. I'm very used to it. But they're very new to the whole streaming side of it, especially because I have to make sure the overlay works and everything like that. So, hopefully it goes off without a hitch. So, without any more tangents, because I am now becoming evidently famous for that, I want to thank you for watching. Thank you for talking. Thank you for commenting. If you do watch this after I have streamed it, then thank you for looking at the stream after. But the main thing is, please never feel out of your depth. Have fun. Give DMing a try. It's a lot of fun. You may end up like me and be a forever DM, where I basically just run DMing and GMing and running sessions till the day I die, and maybe I'll be able to play a character one day. Who knows? But for now, I'm enjoying doing this too much to maybe be a character. That's the main thing. So thank you. I appreciate all of you. You're all lovely human beings. And without any more babbling on, I'll end the stream and hopefully catch you on either the next DM tips or our official first stream. So thank you. Good night.